Picture this: a misty dawn in feudal Japan where cherry blossoms drift like whispers on the wind. Samurai blades gleam under a crimson sun and peasants kneel in rice fields, their hands caked with mud, their lives bound by a code older than the mountains themselves. A world so beautiful it steals your breath, yet so brutal it could claim your life before the first rooster crows. Welcome to History Orbit, where we unravel the past with stories that pulse like a heartbeat. Tonight we dive into a land of honor and hardship, of poetry and peril, where every step is a test, and every choice could be your last. Could you survive a single day in this unforgiving realm? If that question sparks your curiosity, hit that subscribe button to join our journey through time, and let us know in the comments where you're watching from. Is it midnight in Tokyo, or sunrise in New York? Your answers fuel our orbit. Now, settle in, dim the lights, and let the past pull you in. Because in feudal Japan, survival wasn't a choice, it was a performance. And the stage was set long before you were born. Imagine waking to the sound of a distant temple bell, its echo rolling across rice paddies, the air sharp with the scent of dew and cedar. You don't choose your role here, it's carved into your blood, etched by ancestors who've been dust for centuries. If you're born a samurai, your life is a tapestry of discipline, your sword an extension of your soul, your every gesture a prayer to honor. But one wrong bow, one misplaced word, and you're staring down a blade. If you're a peasant, your days are a rhythm of toil, your hands blistered from planting rice, your dreams buried beneath the weight of taxes. Artisans craft beauty they can never own, merchants chase wealth they're scorned for earning. And then there are the cage, the shadows, those who handle death, butchers, tanners, executioners, vital yet invisible, shunned like ghosts who breathe. This is feudal Japan, a society so rigid it makes stone seem soft, where your place isn't a suggestion, it's a life sentence, and trying to rewrite it isn't just forbidden, it's fatal. Let's paint the scene. You're a peasant, your home a thatched hut with walls thinner than a promise. The floor is earth, the roof leaks when the gods are angry, which is often. You rise before dawn, not because you're inspired, but because the sun doesn't wait. And neither does the tax collector. Your breakfast, if you're lucky, is a fistful of rice porridge, flavored with nothing but hunger. If you're less lucky, you sip river water and pretend it's enough. Then it's out to the fields, where the mud clings like a jealous lover. You plant, you weed, you pray the rains come, but not too hard, because a flood could drown your crops and a drought could starve your family. The samurai above you don't see you, not really. You're the heartbeat of the land, but to them, you're just the hands that feed their honor. And if you dare hide a single grain of rice to keep your children from crying at night, that's treason, a crime paid in blood. The village headman might pity you, but he won't save you. His loyalty is to the Lord, not to your empty stomach. Now, shift your gaze to the samurai. They move through the world like living statues, their silk robes whispering of power, their paired swords, a long katana and a shorter wakizashi, a constant reminder of their duty. They serve their lord, whom we'll call Kensei, a name meaning sword saint, a man whose word is law, whose mood could shift the fate of a province. To be a samurai is to live on a knife's edge, every action scrutinized, every mistake a potential disgrace. You train from childhood, mastering the bow, the blade, the art of sitting so perfectly still you might as well be stone. You learn calligraphy, not for art, but to prove your soul is disciplined. You study poetry, not for love, but to sharpen your mind, because in this world, a clumsy haiku is as shameful as a dull sword. And shame here isn't something you shrug off, it's a stain that demands atonement, sometimes with your own life, through a ritual so precise it turns death into poetry. We'll explore that later, but know this: for every moment of glory there are hours of fear of failing your lord, your ancestors, or even the tailor who stitched your robe. Because in feudal Japan, perfection isn't a goal, it's a requirement. Women, too, are bound by this world, their lives a delicate dance of grace and sacrifice. Whether you're a samurai's daughter or a peasant's wife, your freedom ends where your father's will begins. You marry who you're told, often a stranger chosen to bind families or fields. You serve, you obey, you perfect the art of silence. If you're lucky, You learn poetry or the koto's gentle strings, but only to adorn your family's honor, not to chase your own dreams. Your beauty is a duty, your obedience a currency, and if you're a merchant's daughter, you might have silk, but never the respect that samurai wives command. Yet even in this rigid world, there are cracks, moments where defiance sparks like a lone star in a storm. Far across the sea, in a city called Thalyssa, a woman named Aretia will show us what happens when you rewrite the rules. But before we sail to her shores, let's linger in Japan, where even the smallest acts, like washing your face, carry the weight of 1,000 eyes. The beauty of this land is undeniable. Temples rise like prayers carved in wood. Their roofs curving toward the sky, gardens are sculpted with a precision that rivals a blade. Every stone, every petal placed to mirror the cosmos. But beauty here comes with rules. Step on the wrong tatami mat, and you've insulted your host. Pour tea with the wrong hand, and you've shamed your clan. This isn't a world that forgives. It's a world that watches, and every gaze is a judgment. The cherry blossoms may fall, but they fall in order. The rivers may flow, but they flow where the land permits. And you, whether samurai or peasant, must move with the same precision or risk being swept away. Not by water, but by the weight of tradition. Let's talk about the cage for a moment, those who dwell in the shadows. They're the ones who make the world turn, yet are never thanked. They slaughter livestock, they tan leather, they carry out executions. Tasks the society needs but refuses to see. They live apart. In villages no one visits, their children inherit their exile. Imagine a life where your work is essential, but your existence is erased. You're a ghost with calloused hands and necessity no one names. And yet, without you, the samurai's armor wouldn't shine, the lord's table wouldn't be set, the hierarchy you're excluded from would crumble. It's a paradox. Feudal Japan needs its shadows, but pretends they don't cast one. And in this tension, between visibility and erasure, we start to see the cracks in the system, cracks that someone like Risha in a distant land will pry open with her own hands. The day begins early, too early, the sun barely kissing the horizon. And already you're moving, not because you want to, but because the world demands it. If you're a merchant, you're counting coins in a world that despises your wealth. Money is power, but here, it's also a mark of shame. You're efficient, you trade, you profit, but to the samurai, you're a leech living off others' labor. So you keep your head low, your robes plain, your ambition hidden, because drawing attention is dangerous. And danger here isn't abstract. It's a sword at your throat, a public shaming, a family disgraced. Artisans, too, live in this shadow. They carve beauty into lacquer boxes, forge blades that sing, but their hands are tied to their craft. They don't create for themselves. They create for the Lord, for the temple, for a system that values their work but not their dreams. And yet, in every brushstroke, in every tempered edge, there's a quiet rebellion, a whisper of individuality that the system can't quite crush. The land itself is a character in this story. Japan's mountains stand like silent judges, its rivers pulse with life. And threat, typhoons sweep in like divine wrath. Earthquakes shake the ground as if the gods are restless. And yet, the people endure. They build their homes from wood and paper, knowing they might collapse. They plant rice knowing it might drown. They live knowing death is always near. This isn't fatalism, it's resilience, a refusal to bow to nature's chaos, even as they bow to their lords. And in this dance between human will and natural force, we find the heart of feudal Japan, a place where beauty and brutality are two sides of the same coin, where every moment is a test of endurance, of grace, of survival. But survival here isn't just physical, it's spiritual. Cleanliness is a ritual, a sacred act that separates you from shame. And shame is more than embarrassment, it's a fracture in your soul, a stain on your clan. So every morning you kneel by a stone basin, the water so cold it bites, and you wash, not just to clean your skin, but to prove your worth, to show the world and the gods that you belong. This act, so simple, so routine, carries the weight of centuries. It's a reminder that in feudal Japan, nothing is trivial. Every gesture is a performance, every day a stage. And as you splash that icy water on your face, you're not just waking up, You're preparing for a world that demands perfection, a world where even cleanliness is a battle, fought with soap made of ash and a will made of iron. And it's in this battle, this daily ritual of purity, that we begin to understand the true cost of living in this land, a cost we'll explore next, as we step into the steaming, silent world of the bathhouse where every scrub is a prayer and every glance a judgment. Now, let's step deeper into feudal Japan, where purity is more than skin deep. It's a religion, a ritual as vital as rice, as unforgiving as a lord's command. You don't wash to feel refreshed. You wash to prove you're worthy, to dodge the shame that clings worse than mud. Being unclean isn't just a personal misstep. It's a spiritual fracture, a stain on your clan's honor that could ripple through generations. Imagine you're a peasant, your day already heavy with the promise of endless toil. You rise before dawn, not because you're eager, but because the sun doesn't wait, and neither does the tax collector. Your basin, carved from rough stone, sits outside your thatched hut, filled with water hauled from a nearby stream. The cold bites your fingers, turning them numb as you dip them in. Soap, if you're lucky enough to have it, is a gritty paste of rice bran or ash, smelling less like flowers and more like a monk's idea of humility. You scrub your face, your arms, your feet, not for comfort, but because being seen as unclean is a scandal. It's a mark of disgrace that could bar you from the village shrine, the market, or even the good graces of your neighbors. Every morning, this ritual is your first battle, fought not with swords, but with water so cold it feels like a punishment. Now, picture the bathhouse, the beating heart of a village's hygiene. If your village is fortunate enough to have one, it's a wooden structure, steam rising from its roof like a dragon's breath. You step inside, the air thick with heat and the scent of cedar. There's no privacy here. You bathe alongside your neighbors, your landlord, maybe even the village headman, all of you naked, all of you silent, pretending this isn't the most awkward moment of your week. The rules are strict. You scrub thoroughly before entering the communal tub, because dirtying the shared water is social suicide, a sin that could have you whispered about for months. You use a small wooden bucket, splashing yourself with scalding water, your skin reddening as you grit your teeth. Then, and only then, are you allowed to soak, sinking into the tub's warmth, your muscles easing for the first time all day. But even here, you're watched. A glance too long, a splash too loud, and you've broken the unspoken code. The bathhouse is a sanctuary, yes, but it's also a stage where every move is judged, where cleanliness is a performance of your place in the hierarchy. For samurai, the stakes are even higher. Imagine you're one of them, your life governed by the unyielding code of Bushido, your lord, whom we'll call Kensei, expecting perfection in every detail. Your morning wash isn't just about hygiene. It's a ritual to prove your discipline. Your robes must be spotless, your hair immaculate, your nails trimmed with military precision. A single wrinkle in your silk kimono could be seen as disrespect. A hint of body odor during a bow might cost you your lord's favor. Kensei could inspect you at any moment, his eyes scanning for flaws as if searching for cracks in your soul. You scrub your skin until it gleams, not for vanity, but because your honor depends on it. Your sword, too, must shine, its scabbard free of dust, its blade a mirror reflecting your worth. To be a samurai is to live under a microscope where every detail, from the shine of your armor to the scent of your hair, is a testament to your loyalty. Women face an even stricter spotlight. Whether you're a samurai's daughter or a peasant's wife, your cleanliness is a symbol of your virtue. Your hair, often styled in elaborate knots that take hours to perfect, must be flawless, each strand a brush stroke of discipline. You might use camellia oil to make it gleam, a luxury if you can afford it, but even then, the process is grueling. You wash your face with rice water, your hands with ash paste, your body with a cloth dipped in near-freezing water. Your skin must be smooth, your scent delicate, like cherry blossoms or fresh bamboo, because anything less could shame your family. If you're a merchant's wife, you might have access to finer soaps, but you're still judged by the same unforgiving standards. Every morning, you transform yourself into a living poem, not for yourself, but for the eyes of others, because in feudal Japan, beauty isn't a choice, it's a duty. Let's pause to consider the cage, the shadows of this society. Those who handle death and are shunned for it, they, too, must be clean, but their baths are separate, their basins apart from the villages. Imagine being a cage, washing in a stream outside the village, your hands rough from tanning leather or slaughtering livestock. You scrub just as hard as anyone else, but no one sees it. Your cleanliness doesn't earn you respect. It's just another task, like the work that isolates you. Yet, without you, the samurai's armor wouldn't be made, the lord's feasts wouldn't be prepared. You're essential, but erased. A ghost who bathes in silence, your purity is secret the world refuses to acknowledge. This paradox, this tension between necessity and invisibility, mirrors the larger truth of feudal Japan, where every act, even washing, reinforces the hierarchy. The bathhouse isn't just about getting clean, it's a ritual of belonging. You scrub to prove you're part of the community, to show you understand the rules. If you're a peasant, you might only visit the bathhouse once a week, if that, relying instead on quick washes at home. Your teeth are cleaned with salt or a frey twig, your nails clipped with a knife you also use to gut fish. Your clothes, patched and faded, are aired out daily, not because you're fastidious, but because a stained robe could mark you as careless, unworthy. For artisans, cleanliness is practical. A potter can't let clay cake under their nails, not when their work adorns a lord's table. A blacksmith scrubs soot from their hands, not for pride, but to avoid tainting the steel they forge. Merchants, despite their wealth, face the same scrutiny. Their fine silks must be pristine, lest they give samurai an excuse to sneer. Every class, every role is bound by this obsession with purity, a thread that ties the highest lord to the lowliest cage. But what happens when the water runs out, or the winter freezes the streams? You make do. You melt snow, if you can find it. You barter for a neighbor's well water if they'll share. In lean times, you might go days without a proper wash, your skin itching, your shame growing. Yet, even then, you find ways to uphold the ritual. You rub your hands with dry rice bran. You wipe your face with a damp cloth. You pray the gods don't notice. Because in feudal Japan, cleanliness isn't just about your body. It's about your place in a world that demands perfection. A world where a single misstep could unravel your life. This obsession with purity isn't unique to Japan, though its intensity is unmatched. Far across the sea, in the ancient city of Thalyssa, a woman named Aretia understood the power of appearances. She, too, lived in a world where every detail was scrutinized, where a queen's poise could sway empires. Her ships, gleaming under the Mediterranean sun, were as much a symbol of her authority as her crown. But while Japan's people bathed to uphold tradition, Aretia used her presence to challenge it, to carve a path through a world that tried to confine her. Her story, which we'll dive into later, shows what happens when you bend the rules of a rigid society. But for now, let's stay in the bathhouse, where the steam hides secrets and the water reveals truths. The bathhouse is a microcosm of feudal Japan, a place where hierarchy is laid bare. The samurai soak last, their status granting them the cleanest water, while peasants crowd in earlier, their calloused feet clouding the tub. Women bathe at separate times, their sessions a quiet dance of modesty and precision. The bathhouse keeper, often a cage, tends the fires and cleans the tubs, their labor unseen, their presence ignored. Yet, everyone depends on them. The wood must be chopped, the water heated, the floors swept, all to maintain this sacred space. If the fire dies, if the water cools, the entire village feels it. The bathhouse is a fragile balance, a place where cleanliness binds people together, even as it keeps them apart. Imagine the silence, broken only by the drip of water, the creak of wood, the soft hum of a woman's lullaby as she scrubs her child. You don't speak unless spoken to. You don't laugh. You don't gossip. You don't complain about the burn of the water or the ache in your bones. Silence is as much a rule as scrubbing. But in that silence, there's tension. Eyes dart, measuring, judging. Did you scrub long enough? Is your hair neat enough? Are you clean enough to pass the invisible test? The bathhouse is a ritual, but it's also a battlefield where you fight to prove your worth without saying a word. For women, this battle is even fiercer. Your beauty is your armor, your cleanliness your shield. You might spend hours preparing for the bathhouse, combing your hair with a wooden comb, rubbing your skin with rice water until it glows. If you're a samurai's wife, your appearance reflects your husband's honor. A single loose strand could spark whispers, a smudge on your cheek a scandal. You carry the weight of your family's reputation in every gesture, every glance. Peasant women, too, face this pressure, though their tools are simpler. A cloth, a bucket, a handful of ash, these are your weapons in a war against shame. You might envy the samurai's wife her silks, but you share her burden, the need to be flawless in a world that's anything but. The seasons add another layer to this ritual. In summer, the bathhouse is a refuge, the warm water a balm for muscles worn from planting rice. In winter, it's a trial, the walk to the bathhouse a trek through frost, the steam a fleeting escape from the cold that seeps into your bones. If you live far from a bathhouse, you make do with a wooden tub in your hut, heat it with whatever wood you can spare. The wealthy might have private baths, their water scented with herbs, their tubs lined with cedar. But for most, the bathhouse is communal, a shared space where differences dissolve in the steam, only to re-emerge when you step back into the world. Cleanliness extends beyond the body. Your clothes, your home, your tools, all must be spotless. You wear your robes daily, beating them with a stick to shake off dust. Your straw sandals, worn thin from the fields, are scrubbed until they gleam. Your hut, though humble, is swept until the dirt floor shines. This isn't vanity, it's survival. A dirty home could invite the wrath of the gods, a stained robe the scorn of your neighbors. Even the cage, living on the village's edge, keep their homes pristine, their tools polished, as if cleanliness could bridge the gap between them and the world that shuns them. This relentless pursuit of purity shapes every corner of life. A samurai's armor, polished to a mirror's sheen, isn't just for battle. It's a symbol of his soul. A merchant's ledger, its pages free of smudges, reflects his discipline. A peasant's rice basket, woven tight and clean, carries more than grain, it carries pride. In feudal Japan, cleanliness is a language spoken in every scrubbed hand, every gleaming blade, every swept floor. It's a language of order, of duty, of belonging. But it's also a language of pressure, a constant reminder that you're never truly alone, never truly free. The gods are watching, your lord is watching, your village is watching. And in this world, to be seen as unclean is to be seen as less than human. Yet, even in this rigid system, there are moments of rebellion, quiet acts of defiance. A peasant might linger in the bathhouse, savoring the warmth a moment longer than allowed. A woman might braid a flower into her hair, a small claim to beauty for herself. These are fleeting victories, but they matter. They remind you that beneath the rules, beneath the scrutiny, you're still human, still capable of choice. Far away in Thalyssa, Aretia will show us what happens when defiance becomes a legacy, when one woman's choices ripple across empires. But before we sail to her shores, let's linger in the bathhouse a little longer, where the steam hides dreams and the water washes away more than dirt. Because in feudal Japan, cleanliness isn't just a ritual, it's a mirror reflecting who you are, who you serve, and who you might dare to become. And as you step out of the bathhouse, your skin flushed, your heart steady, you carry that mirror with you into a world where honor is sharper than any sword. A world we'll explore next, where the samurai live not for themselves, but for a code that could demand their very lives. You step out of the bathhouse, your skin still warm from the steam, your heart steady, but heavy, carrying the invisible mirror of feudal Japan's expectations, a reflection that must remain flawless, because in this world honor cuts sharper than any blade. That mirror doesn't just show your face, it reveals your soul, your duty, your place in a society where every gesture is judged. And nowhere is the judgment harsher than in the life of a samurai, a warrior bound by a code so rigid it could snap steel. Imagine you're one of them, your silk robes whispering as you move your twin swords along katana. and a shorter wakizashi heavy at your hip, each step a reminder that your life belongs not to you, but to your lord, whom we call Kensei, the sword saint, a man whose will shapes the land like a river. Carved stone. The bathhouse showed us a world where cleanliness is a ritual, a daily proof of your worth in a hierarchy that forgives nothing. Now we step into the samurai's world, where that hierarchy isn't just a structure. It's a cage gilded with honor but locked tight by duty. And if you're enjoying this journey through a land of beauty and brutality, drop a comment telling us if you could bear the weight of a samurai's life, where one wrong move could cost everything. Because to be a samurai is to carry a burden forged in the unyielding code of Bushido, a burden we're about to feel in every sharpened detail. From the moment you're born into a samurai family, your path is carved not by your dreams, but by centuries of tradition etched into the bones of your ancestors. As a child, you don't chase butterflies or climb trees. You train, your small hands gripping a wooden sword before you can write your name. Your father, a stern figure with eyes like polished steel, stands over you, his voice low but unyielding, teaching you the art of the bow, the blade, the horse, each lesson a step towards serving Kensei, whose name is spoken with reverence, whose glance could lift you to glory or cast you into disgrace. By the time you're 10, you're practicing archery while reciting poetry, because in this world, a warrior's mind must be as sharp as his katana. You learn calligraphy not to create art, but to discipline your soul. Each brushstroke a test of precision, a wobbly line as shameful as a missed arrow. You study strategy not to win battles, but to avoid shaming your clan. Because shame isn't a feeling here, it's a sentence, one that could demand your life. Bushido, the way of the warrior, is your guiding star, but it's a star that burns. It's light demanding loyalty, courage, and a stillness that borders on inhuman. You don't live for yourself, you live for Kensei, for your ancestors, for the honor that binds your family like a sacred vow. Every morning, you rise before dawn, your breath visible in the cold air of your tatami-floored room. You dress with care, layering your silk robes so precisely that a single fold out of place could signal disrespect. Your swords, the daisho, are more than weapons, they're your identity, the long katana for battle, the short wakizashi for defense, or, if the worst comes, for a ritual far darker. You polish them daily, not just to keep them sharp, but to prove your devotion. Because a tarnished blade is a tarnished soul. You kneel before a small shrine, offering prayers to your ancestors, asking for strength to uphold their legacy, because in this world, your actions reflect not just on you, but on generations past and future. A samurai's day is a relentless cycle of discipline. You train in the courtyard, your sword slicing through the air, each swing a meditation, each stance a poem written in muscle and sweat. You practice horseback riding, your body moving as one with the animal, because in battle, hesitation means death. You study the classics, memorizing Chinese texts like the Analects, not for wisdom, but to sharpen your mind to prove you're more than a blade. You write haiku, not for beauty, but to capture the fleeting nature of life, because a samurai must be ready to die at any moment, and a poorly crafted poem could shame you even in death. Your meals are simple, rice and pickled vegetables, eaten in silence, because gluttony is weakness, and weakness is unthinkable. You sit with perfect posture, your back straight as a spear, your face a mask of calm, because showing emotion, joy, fear, anger is to invite judgment. Even laughter is dangerous, to loud and you're crude, to soft and you're weak. So you learn to smile with your eyes, to speak with your silence, to live in a state of constant restraint. Kensei, your lord, is the center of your world, his estate a fortress of wood and stone, its gates guarded by men like you, men who would die before letting an enemy pass. You serve him with a loyalty that borders on worship, his words law, his moods the weather that shapes your day. If he calls you to his hall, you kneel, your forehead touching the floor, your swords placed just so, because an improper bow could be seen as defiance. You listen as he speaks of war, of taxes, of alliances, your role not to question, but to obey, to carry out his will with the precision of a clock. If he orders you to fight, you ride into battle, your armor gleaming, your heart steady. knowing you might not return. If he orders you to guard his lands, you stand watch, your eyes scanning the horizon for bandits, rebels, or worse, a rival lord's spies. But the greatest fear isn't death in battle. It's dishonor, a stain so deep it could taint your entire bloodline. Dishonor comes in many forms: a careless word in Kensei's presence, a glance too long at his wife's attendant, a failure to protect his honor or your own. Imagine you're summoned to a tea ceremony, a ritual as delicate as a spider's web. You sit on a tatami mat, your knees aching, your swords at your side, as Kensei pours tea with the grace of a crane. You must turn the cup twice, sip in silence, express gratitude with exactly the right words, because a mistake, a tremble in your hand, a sip too loud, could be seen as a flaw in your character. If you offend Kensei, intentionally or not, the consequences are swift. A harsh word from him could strip you of rank, exile you to a distant province, or worse, demand atonement through seppuku, the ritual suicide that restores honor through blood. Seppuku isn't a punishment, it's a privilege, a way to prove your loyalty even in failure. Picture it: you kneel in a quiet room, a white cloth spread before you, your wakizashi in your hands. Your second, a fellow samurai, stands ready with his katana, prepared to end your suffering if your resolve falters. You compose a death poem, a haiku capturing your final thoughts, perhaps of cherry blossoms falling or a river flowing to the sea. Then, with a steady hand, you plunge the blade into your abdomen, your breath catching, your vision narrowing as you prove your honor one last time. This isn't rare, it's expected, a tradition recorded in texts like the Hokkaku, where samurai embraced death as a duty. There lives a fleeting moment in service to something greater. But not all samurai face seppuku. Some live long, their day is a cycle of training, serving, waiting. You might guard Kensei's castle, your eyes scanning the darkness for threats. You might ride to a neighboring province, delivering messages sealed with wax, each word a potential spark for war. You might train younger samurai, teaching them to wield a sword with the same grace you've mastered, your voice firm but patient, because their failures reflect on you. Your life is a balance of action and stillness, of violence and poetry, of fear and pride. You're a warrior, yes, but also a scholar, a poet, a servant. You're every role a thread in the tapestry of Bushido. Women in samurai families face their own version of this burden. If you're a samurai's daughter, your life is a mirror of your father's honor. You learn the naginata, a pole weapon not to fight, but to defend your home if your men fall. You master calligraphy, your brush strokes as precise as a blade, because your art reflects your family's dignity. You study etiquette, learning to pour tea, to bow, to speak in a voice soft as moonlight, because your grace is your father's pride. Your marriage, arranged to bind clans, is a duty, not a choice, your husband chosen for alliances, not love. You bear sons to carry on the family name, your body a vessel for honor, your heart a silent sacrifice. Yet, even in this rigid world, there are whispers of defiance. A woman who wields a naginata with too much skill, a poem that hints at unspoken dreams. These small rebellions echo across the sea in Thalyssa, where Risha, a queen and warrior, will show us what happens when defiance becomes a legacy. For now, though, let's linger with the samurai, because their world isn't just about honor. It's about fear. The fear of failing, of falling, of being less than perfect. That fear shapes every moment, from the way you tie your obi to the way you draw your sword. Imagine a duel, not a grand battle, but a quiet confrontation in a bamboo grove. Your rival a samurai from a rival clan, his eyes locked on yours, his hand steady on his katana. You face him, your heart pounding but your face calm, because showing fear is as bad as losing. The duel is over in seconds, a single strike, a spray of blood, and one of you falls. If you win, you return to Kensei's service, your honor intact. If you lose, your family mourns, your name fades, your clan bears the shame. But even victory isn't freedom, it's just another day of proving yourself, another day of carrying the weight of Bushido. The samurai's life isn't glamorous, despite the silk robes and gleaming swords. It's a life of constant vigilance, where every action is a performance, every moment a test. You don't rest, you don't relax, you don't dream, because dreams are for those who own their lives, and you don't. You belong to Kensei, to your clan, to the code that defines you. Yet, in this rigidity, there's beauty, the beauty of a life lived with purpose, of a sword swung with grace, of a poem written under moonlight. It's a beauty that demands sacrifice, a beauty that cuts as deeply as it inspires. And it's a beauty that echoes far beyond Japan in a distant city called Thalyssa, where a woman named Aretia wields her own kind of power not with a katana, but with a mind sharper than any blade, a mind that challenges empires and rewrites rules. Her story, born in a world as rigid as this one, shows us what happens when you dare to step outside the cage, when you take the mirror of expectation and shatter it with your own reflection. But before we sail to her shores, let's hold this moment, this samurai's life, where honor is a flame that warms you and burns you, where every day is a battle to be more than human, to be a living embodiment of duty, a battle we'll carry forward as we meet a queen who fought not just for honor, but for survival, for power, for a legacy that still ripples through time. The samurai's life, a flame that warms and burns, leaves you standing in a world where honor is a mirror you dare not shatter. But what happens when someone does? When a woman bound by her own rigid society takes that mirror and smashes it with the force of her will. Step away from feudal Japan's tatami mats and bamboo groves across the sea to a sun-scorched coast, where waves crash against cliffs, to the city-state of Thalyssa, where a queen named Aretia carves a name into history not with a katana, but with a mind sharper than any blade. The samurai showed us a world where duty confines, where every action is a performance for lords and ancestors. Now, we meet a woman who rewrote her role, who turned expectation into defiance. And if her story sparks your imagination, drop a comment telling us if you dare to challenge an empire as she did. Because Aretia's life is a testament to what happens when you refuse to bow, when you choose to sail through storms others fear to face. The bathhouse and the samurai's code taught us that in feudal Japan, every gesture, every moment, is a test of your place in a hierarchy that bends for no one. Thalyssa, perched on a rugged coastline in 480 BCE, is no less rigid, a city caught between the sprawling Median Empire and the defiant city-states of Hellas, a place where loyalty is a currency and survival a gamble. Aretia, born into this crucible, is no ordinary woman. Her father, a Thalyssan noble named Lycos, rules with an iron grip, his ships guarding the city's harbors. Her mother, a fiery woman from the island of Kretos, fills Aretia's childhood with tales of gods and warriors, planting seeds of ambition in a heart that refuses to be tamed. When Lycos dies, Aretia, barely 20, inherits his throne not as a figurehead, but as a ruler. A queen who commands respect in a world that expects women to fade into the shadows. She doesn't just rule Thalyssa, she leads its navy. 5 warships that cut through the sea like wolves through a forest, their sails taut, their prows carved with serpents that gleam under the Mediterranean sun. Imagine being Aretia, standing on the deck of her flagship, the Serpent's Breath, her dark hair braided tight, her eyes scanning the horizon for threats. You're not just a queen, you're a strategist, your mind a map of currents and winds, your voice a command that sailors obey without question. Your city, Thalyssa, is a jewel, its white stone walls rising from cliffs, its markets buzzing with traders from Egypt, Phoenicia, Hellas, but it's also a pawn caught in the shadow of the Median Empire led by King Xerxes, a ruler whose ambition is as vast as the desert. Xerxes seeks to conquer Hellas, to crush its city-states, Athens, Sparta, Corinth, and bring them under his golden yoke. Thalyssa, allied to the Medians through trade and tribute, is expected to join this campaign, and Aretia, as its queen, must lead her ships into war. But Aretia is no blind follower. Her father taught her to read the stars, her mother to read men's hearts, and she sees Xerxes' plan for what it is, a gamble that could drown her city in blood. She advises caution, her voice steady as she stands in Xerxes' war council. A lone woman among generals with egos as sharp as their spears. She warns him the Hellenes are fierce, their ships nimble, Their waters treacherous, but Xerxes, drunk on his own power, dismisses her, his laughter echoing like a storm over her words. Yet Aretia doesn't bow, she doesn't falter, she returns to her ships, her resolve hardening like bronze in a forge. To understand Aretia, you must understand Thalyssa, a city of contradictions. Its temples gleam with marble offerings to gods of sea and war, but its streets hum with whispers of rebellion, of merchants who chafe under Median taxes, of sailors who dream of freedom. Aretia walks these streets, her presence a blend of grace and steel, her robes simple but regal, her eyes missing nothing. She knows her people's fears, their hopes, their secrets, because a queen who doesn't listen is a queen who falls. Her sailors, a mix of Thaliacians and Cretan mercenaries, trust her not because she's royal, but because she's one of them, her hands calloused from rigging, her skin salted by the sea. She trains with them, wielding a short sword with a precision that silences doubters. Her laughter rare but bright, cutting through the tension of a crew facing war. Her flagship, the Serpent's Breath, is her second home, its deck polished to a shine, its oars moving in rhythm like a heartbeat. She knows every plank, every rope, every man, and they know her not as a distant ruler, but as a captain who shares their risks. The Median Empire's call to war tests Aretia's loyalty not to Xerxes, but to Thalyssa. She could refuse, declare her city neutral, but that would invite invasion. Her walls crumbling under Median catapults, her people enslaved. She could obey blindly, sending her ships to die for a king's ego. But that would betray her father's legacy, her mother's fire. Instead, she chooses a third path. She joins Xerxes' campaign, but on her terms. Her 5 ships are small but deadly force, their agility a counterpoint to the Median fleet's lumbering size. She sails to the gathering point of vast harbor, where Xerxes are modest stretchers like a forest of masts. 1,000 ships from across his empire, Persia, Lydia, Egypt, their sails a patchwork of colors. Their crews a cacophony of languages. Aretia stands out, her ships lean and swift, her banner a serpent coiled around a trident, snapping in the wind. She meets Xerxes not as a vassal, but as an equal, her words sharp, her gaze unflinching. She tells him, fight the Hellenes on open water and you might win, but in narrow straits. Their ships will dance around yours like foxes around an ox. Her generals scoff, their beards bristling with pride, but Xerxes listens, his eyes narrowing, intrigued by this queen who speaks like a warrior. Aretia's defiance isn't loud, it's precise, a calculated risk in a world where women are expected to be silent, to be ornaments, not strategists. Her mother's Cretan blood burns in her veins, her father's Thaliacian cunning shapes her plans, and she knows that survival means playing a game where every move is watched, every word weighed. In Thalyssa, appearances matter as much as in feudal Japan. Your ships must gleam, your armor must shine, your presence must command. Aretia's armor, light and bronze, fits her like a second skin, its surface etched with serpents, a symbol of her city's strength. Her hair, braided with gold thread, catches the sun, her sword, a gift from her father, rests at her side, its hilt worn from use. She's not just a queen, she's a warrior, a navigator, a diplomat. Her every role a defiance of what her world expects. Her people see her as a beacon, a woman who rules not by birth alone, but by will, by skill, by a courage that borders on reckless. But courage has a cost and Aretia pays it daily. She faces whispers not just from Xerxes' generals, but from her own council. Old men who mutter that a woman shouldn't lead ships, shouldn't speak in war councils, shouldn't challenge kings. She silences them, not with words, but with results. Her ships outrun storms. Her strategies outwit rivals. Her loyalty to Thalyssa burns brighter than any doubt. Yet, doubt lingers, a shadow she can't escape, because in Thalyssa, as in Japan, the hierarchy is a cage, and even queens must tread carefully. Aretia's life is a balancing act. She must honor her alliance with Xerxes, keep her city's independence and protect her people, all while navigating a war that could swallow them all. Her nights are spent poring over maps, her days drilling her crew, her every moment a preparation for the battle she knows is coming. She dreams of the sea, of waves that carry her beyond the reach of empires. But dreams are a luxury she can't afford. Instead, she sharpens her mind, her blade, her resolve, because the Hellenes are waiting. Their triremes swift, their warriors fierce, their waters a trap for the unwary. Aretia knows this, she feels it in her bones, the way a sailor feels a storm before the clouds gather. Her story, recorded by the Thalian chronicler Herodian, is one of defiance, but it's also one of survival, of a woman who sees the cage of her world and chooses to break it, not with force but with cunning. In feudal Japan, we saw how the samurai's honor binds them, how cleanliness reflects their soul, how every act is a performance. Aretia's world is no different. Her ships, her armor, her words, all must be perfect, not for honor alone, but for power, for survival, for a legacy that outlives her. She's not just fighting for Thalyssa, she's fighting to prove that a woman can lead, can win, can rewrite the rules of a world that demands she bow. Her defiance echoes the small rebellions we saw in Japan, the peasant lingering in the bathhouse, the samurai's daughter wielding her naginata with too much skill. But Aretia's rebellion is bigger, bolder, a challenge to an empire that could crush her city with a single command. Yet, she sails on, her ships cutting through the waves, her heart steady, her eyes fixed on the horizon. The war with Hellas looms, a clash that will test her like never before, a battle where strategy will matter more than strength, where one woman's choices could shift the fate of nations. In Japan, the samurai faced their battles with swords and silence, their lives a testament to duty. Aretia's battle is different, fought on water with words, with a mind that sees beyond the horizon. Her story, like the samurai's, is one of pressure, of expectation, of a world that demands perfection but offers no forgiveness. As we leave her standing on the deck of the Serpent's Breath, her eyes scanning the sea, we see a woman who carries her own mirror, not to reflect tradition, but to shatter it, to show the world what happens when you dare to be more than your role allows. And as the waves rise and the war drums sound, will follow her into the heart of the storm, into a battle that will test her cunning, her courage, and her will to survive a battle, where the sea itself becomes a stage and Aretia a queen, a warrior, a legend takes center stage. Aretia stands on the deck of the Serpent's Breath, her eyes locked on the horizon, the sea a restless mirror reflecting a sky bruised with the fret of war. Her heart steady as the war drums echo from King Xerxes' flagship, signaling the clash that will define her legacy. A battle where the waves themselves become a stage and she, a queen, a warrior, a strategist, takes center stage. The samurai showed us a world where honor is a blade sharpened by duty, where every act is a performance for lords and ancestors. Aretia's world is no less demanding. Her ships, her swords, her mind, her armor, as she sails into the battle of Thalyssa, a clash that will test her cunning against the fierce Hellenes, a people who fight not just for victory but for survival. If this tale of defiance grips you, drop a comment telling us if you distrust Aretia's strategy or fear her ruthless choices, because in this battle, every decision is a gamble, and Aretia plays to win not for Xerxes but for Thalyssa, for her people, for a name that will outlive the waves. The fourth segment left us with Aretia, her resolve hardened, her ships ready, facing a war she warned against, a war in the narrow straits of Thalyssa, where the Median fleet's size is a curse, not a strength. The Hellenes, led by cunning admirals from Athens and Sparta, know these waters. Their triremes lean and swift, their oars slicing the sea like knives through silk. Aretia's 5 ships, small but deadly, are a drop in Xerxes' armada. 1,000 vessels stretching across the harbor, their sails a forest of ambition. Their crews a mix of Persians, Lydians, Egyptians, all bound by the king's command. But Aretia isn't here for Xerxes' glory, she's here for Thalyssa, her city's survival hanging on every choice she makes. The battle begins at dawn, the sky ablaze of gold and crimson. The straits of Thalyssa a choke point where cliffs loom like silent judges, their shadows darkening the water. Aretia stands at the prow of her flagship, her bronze armor gleaming, her serpent banner snapping in the wind, her crew tense but disciplined, their eyes on her, not the enemy. She's warned Xerxes the Hellenes will use the strait's narrowness. Their ships will dart and weave, turning the Median fleet's size into chaos. But Xerxes, his throne a floating palace of gold and cedar, ignores her. His generals nodding like puppets, their pride blinding them to the trap ahead. The Hellenes strike first, their triremes bursting from behind a rocky outcrop, their rams gleaming like fangs, their oars moving in perfect rhythm. The Median fleet, packed tight in the straits, lumbers forward, ships colliding or snapping, sailors shouting in a dozen tongues. Aretia watches, her heart a drumbeat, her mind racing. She sees the chaos before it unfolds. The Hellenes' plan as clear as the stars she read as a child. She signals her ships to hold back, to skirt the edges, to wait for the moment when the Median line falters. Her crew, trained under her relentless eye, obeys without hesitation, their oars dipping silently, their hulls low in the water. The battle is a storm, waves churned by splintered wood, blood staining the sea, screams drowned by the crash of rams against hulls. The Hellenes are relentless, their triremes dancing around the heavier Median ships, their bronze rams punching through cedar planks, sending men into the frothing water. Xerxes' flagship, a leviathan of ostentation, sits at the rear, its golden sails a beacon of arrogance, its crew struggling to maneuver in the cramped straits. Aretia's ships, lean and agile, weave through the chaos, her orders sharp, her voice cutting through the din like a blade. She spots a Hellenic trireme breaking from the pack, its captain bold, perhaps too bold, aiming for a Median vessel caught in a tangle of rigging. Aretia seizes the moment, her flagship surges forward, her ram aimed not at the Hellenes, but at a Median ship, an allied vessel from Lydia, its deck crowded with panicked sailors. She strikes, her ram splintering the Lydian hull, the ship lurching, men screaming as they fall into the sea. The Hellenic trireme, confused, hesitates, its captain mistaking Aretia's banner for an ally's. She escapes, her ships slipping through the gap, her crew silent, their eyes wide with the audacity of her move. Xerxes, watching from his throne, sees her act, his laughter booming over the battle. My generals falter, but my queen commands. He roars, his voice a mix of awe and amusement. Aretia's gambit, ruthless but brilliant, saves her ships, but at a cost. The Lydian crew drowns, their cries haunting her as she steers back into the fray. The battle turns against the Medians, the Hellenes' strategy unfolds like a net, their triremes herding Xerxes' fleet into tighter clusters where ships collide, oars tangle, and panic spreads like fire. Aretia's warning, ignored by Xerxes, becomes prophecy, the straits become a graveyard. Median ships sinking, their sails burning, their crews swallowed by waves. Aretia fights on, her ships darting through gaps, her archers loosing arrows that find Hellenic throats, her rams striking where the enemy least expects. She's not fighting for victory now, she's fighting for survival, for the chance to bring her ships, her men, her city's pride, back to Thalyssa. The sun climbs higher, the sea a chaos of blood and wood, the Hellenes relentless, their triremes circling like wolves, their admirals outwitting Xerxes' generals at every turn. Aretia's ships, battered but intact, hold their own. Her crew's discipline a testament to her leadership. She signals a retreat, not for herself but for Xerxes. Her voice clear as she shouts across the water, withdraw or lose everything, she warns. Her words a lifeline thrown to a drowning king. Xerxes, his pride wounded, his fleet crumbling, listens this time, his flagship turning, his armada limping back to open water, leaving hundreds of ships behind, their wreckage a feast for the sea. Aretia's ships follow, her serpent banner still flying, her crew exhausted but alive, their loyalty to her stronger than ever. The Battle of Thalyssa is a defeat for the Medians, a triumph for the Hellenes. But for Aretia, it's a victory of survival, of cunning, of proving her worth in a world that doubted her. Herodian, the Thalian chronicler, records her deeds, his words capturing the moment she rammed the Lydian ship, a move that saved her fleet but stained her conscience. Was it ruthless, he asks, or was it necessary? A question that lingers like salt on the tongue. Aretia returns to Xerxes' camp, her ship scarred, her crew weary, but her head high. The king, his throne now a symbol of failure, summons her, his generals silent, their eyes avoiding hers. He praises her, not with warmth, but with respect, entrusting her with advising his retreat. a role no other commander receives. She accepts, her voice steady, her mind already mapping the route back to Thalyssa, where her people wait, their faith in her unshaken. The battle leaves scars not just on her ships but on her soul. The cries of the Lydian sailors echo in her dreams, a reminder that leadership demands choices no one else can bear. Yet, she bears them because Thalyssa depends on her, because her father's legacy, her mother's fire, demanded. In feudal Japan, we saw the samurai's honor, a burden that shapes every swing of their sword, every bow of their head. Aretia's honor is different, not a cage but a weapon, wielded with a precision that rivals any katana. Her ships, her strategies, her defiance are her bushido, a code not of loyalty to a lord, but to her city, her people, herself. The samurai face seppuku to restore honor. Aretia faces the sea, its waves a test of her resolve, its storms a mirror of her strength. Her victory at Thalamos isn't in sinking ships, but in surviving, in outwitting, in proving that a woman can lead where men falter. Her story, like the samurai's, is one of pressure, of a world that demands perfection but offers no mercy. In Japan, cleanliness was a ritual, a proof of worth, the samurai's life a performance of duty. Aretia's battle is both, her ships polished to shine, her strategies a dance of survival, her every move watched by allies and enemies alike. The sea, like Japan's rice fields, is unforgiving, its currents as rigid as any hierarchy. Yet Aretia navigates them, her mind a compass, her will a sail. Her legacy, still unfolding, will echo beyond Thalamos, beyond the sea, just as the samurai's code echoes through Japan's history. As we leave Aretia, her ships limping home, her banner still proud, we see a woman who didn't just survive, she thrived, turning defeat into defiance, loss into legend. Her story written in blood and salt will shape Thalyssa's future, just as Japan's traditions shaped its people, and as we sail back to those shores, we'll see how her defiance, like the samurai's honor, leaves a mark that time cannot erase, a mark we'll trace in the legacy of a queen who dared to be more, and a land that demanded everything. Aretia's ships limp back to Thalyssa, their serpent banners tattered, but proud, cutting through waves stained with the memory of battle. Her legacy a mark etched not just in the sea, but in the hearts of her people, a testament to a queen who dared to be more than her world allowed. The Battle of Thalamos showed us her cunning, her courage, her ruthless choices. A woman who turned defeat into survival, who faced empires and emerged unbroken. In feudal Japan, we saw samurai bound by honor, peasants by toil, all carrying mirrors of expectation, their lives a performance for gods and lords. Aretia's story, like theirs, is one of pressure, of defying a cage to leave a mark that time cannot erase. And if her legacy or Japan's traditions stir your soul, drop a comment telling us which resonates more, a queen's rebellion or a samurai's duty, because in this segment we'll weave their worlds together, exploring how defiance and discipline shape history's echo. The fifth segment left Aretia sailing home, her ships scarred, her crew weary, her name now a whisper in Xerxes' court, a queen who outwitted the sea and the Hellenes. Back in Thalyssa, she steps onto the docks, her bronze armor dulled by salt, her eyes bright with resolve, greeted not with trumpets but with silence, the kind that follows a storm, heavy with awe. Her people, gathered on the cliffs, see not just a queen but a savior, a woman who brought their sons, their brothers, their ships back from a war that swallowed thousands. The chronicler Herodian, his quill scratching late into the night, records her return, his words painting her as a beacon, a ruler whose defiance redefined Thalyssa's place in a world of empires. Her father Lycos taught her to read the stars, her mother from Kretos to read hearts. And Aretia uses both, ruling not with fear, but with a fire that warms her city afire, that burns in every decision she makes. Thalyssa, its white stone walls gleaming under the Mediterranean sun, is no longer just a pawn. It's a power, its harbors bustling, its markets alive with traders who speak of Aretia's name with reverence, not as a queen, but as a warrior who sailed into legend. Her rule is a delicate balance. She strengthens Thalyssa's walls not with stone, but with alliances, negotiating with Phoenician merchants, Egyptian priests, even the Hellenes, who once fought her. Because Risha knows survival isn't won on battlefields alone, it's won in council chambers. In Whisper deals in the trust of her people. She rebuilds her fleet, her 5 ships, now 10, their prows carved with serpents, their sails stitched with gold, a symbol of Thalyssa's pride. She trains her sailors not just to row, but to think, to strategize, to see the sea as she does. A chessboard where every wave is a move. Her council, once a nest of muttering elders, now listens, their doubts silenced by her victory at Thalamos, their eyes meeting hers with respect, not suspicion. But Risha's legacy isn't just in ships or stone, it's in the stories her people tell. Mothers whispering to daughters of a queen who led men, who outsmarted kings, who turned the sea into her stage. Years later, a descendant Aretia builds the Thalyssan vault, a towering monument of marble and bronze, its columns carved with serpents, its chambers filled with offerings to the gods. A tribute to the first Aretia, whose name becomes a prayer, a reminder that defiance can outlive death. In feudal Japan, we saw a world where tradition is a chain binding samurai to bushido, peasants to fields, cage to shadows. Aretia's world is no less rigid, its hierarchies as unyielding as Japan's, yet she breaks them, not with rebellion's fire, but with cunning's light, a light that illuminates Thalyssa's future. Japan's traditions, its rituals of cleanliness, its code of honor are a mirror held to society, reflecting order, duty, beauty. Aretia's legacy is her own mirror, not of obedience, but of possibility, showing her people and us that even in a cage, you can carve your own path. The samurai's life, a performance of perfection, echoes in Aretia's polished ships, her flawless strategies. But where the samurai served lords like Kensei, Aretia serves her city, her defiance a love letter to Thalyssa, written in salt and blood. Japan's beauty, its temples curved like prayers, its gardens sculpted like poems, is a double-edged sword, a world that demands sacrifice for every moment of grace. Aretia's Thalyssa is no different, its cliffs gleam, its markets sing, but its survival hinges on a queen who dares to challenge the order, to rewrite the script. The samurai face seppuku to restore honor, Aretia faces the sea, its storms a test of her will, its waves a canvas for her legacy. Both worlds demand perfection, but where Japan's people endure their roles, Aretia reshapes hers, proving that survival isn't just about obeying, it's about daring to be more. Let's linger in Thalyssa, where Aretia's rule transforms the city. She opens schools, not for nobles, but for sailors' sons, teaching them to read stars, to chart seas, to think beyond their father's nets. She reforms the council, giving voice to merchants, to women, to those who once stood silent, because she knows a city thrives on its people, not its walls. Her markets grow, spices from Egypt, silks from Lydia, pottery from Hellas, all flowing through Thalyssa's harbors, her defiance turning a pawn into a player. She walks among her people, her robes simple, her sword at her side, listening to their fears, their dreams, her presence a reminder that leadership isn't about thrones, it's about trust. Her sailors, once mercenaries, now call themselves Thalyssans, their loyalty not to gold, but to her, to the queen who sailed into battle and brought them home. Her enemies, the Hellenes, send envoys not to conquer but to trade, their respect won by her cunning, not her crown. Xerxes, humbled by Thalamos, never forgets her, his letters seeking her counsel, his generals studying her strategies, her name a whisper in his court. A queen who turned defeat into legend. But Aretia's legacy isn't without shadows. The Lydian sailors she sacrificed haunt her. Their cries a weight she carries in silence, a reminder that every choice, even a brilliant one, has a cost. Herodian writes of her guilt, her nights spent on the cliffs, staring at the sea, as if seeking forgiveness from the waves. Yet, she doesn't falter, she rules, she builds, she dreams, because Thalyssa needs her. Not as a flawless queen, but as a human one, flawed, fierce, unbroken. In Japan, the cage live in shadows, their work essential, their existence erased, their cleanliness a ritual no one sees. Aretia, too, knows invisibility, her womanhood a barrier in a world of men. Yet she makes herself seen, her ships, her strategies, her legacy a light that pierces the dark. The samurai's honor, polished like their swords, is a burden they carry to the grave. Aretis's honor is a fire, burning for her city, for her people, for a future she'll never see. Japan's hierarchy, its rice fields, its temples, endures because of its people's resilience, their willingness to bend without breaking. Aretia Thalyssa endures because of her defiance, her refusal to bend, her choice to break the rules and build something new. Both worlds teach us that history isn't just about surviving, it's about shaping, about leaving a mark that echoes through time, whether in a samurai's poem or a queen's victory. The Thalyssan vault, built by Aretia II, stands long after Aretia's death, its serpents watching over the sea, its chambers filled with stories, not just of a queen, but of a city that rose because of her. In Japan, the samurai's code lives on in calligraphy brushed on rice paper, in gardens where every stone is a prayer, in rituals that bind a people to their past. Aretia's legacy, like Japan's, is a mirror not of perfection but of possibility. A reminder that even in a world that demands you bow, you can stand, you can fight, you can win. The samurai's life, Aretia's rule, both show us the cost of living in a rigid world, the beauty of its traditions, the weight of its expectations. Japan's peasants toil, their hands shaping the land, their lives shaping history. Aretia's sailors row, they're all shaping the sea, their loyalty shaping a city. Both stories, separated by oceans and centuries, speak of resilience, of defiance, of the human will to be more than a role, more than a reflection. As we leave Aretia Thalyssa, its cliffs fading into the sunset and Japan's rice fields their green, a promise of endurance we see to worlds bound by a single truth. History is a tapestry woven not just by kings and lords, but by those who dare to weave their own thread to leave a mark that shines through time. And as we step back from these worlds, from Aretia's waves and Japan's blades, we're left with questions about what it means to survive, to defy, to endure. Questions that call us to look closer, to weave our own stories into the fabric of the past, a fabric we'll unravel next. As we bring these tales together, reflecting on what they teach us, what they demand of us, what they inspire in us, the tapestry of history woven with the threads of Aretia's defiance. And Japan's unyielding tradition stretches before us its patterns of sacrifice, resilience, and rebellion shimmering like stars. Over a restless sea, each thread a story, each knot a life that dared to leave a mark. We've sailed through feudal Japan's rice fields, where peasants toiled under the weight of duty, bathed in icy water to prove their worth, and knelt before samurai whose honor was sharper than their blades. We've stood on Thalyssa's cliffs where Aretia, a queen with a warrior's heart, turned waves into her battlefield, her cunning a beacon that outshone empires. As we step back from these worlds, one question lingers. What does it mean to survive in a cage of expectation, to defy a system that demands you bow? If this journey has stirred your soul, drop a comment telling us whose story hit harder. Aretia's rebellion against empires or the samurai's dance with duty, because at history orbit, we don't just tell stories, we unravel the human spirit, and this tapestry, rich with lessons, is only the beginning. The sixth segment left us with Aretia's legacy, her Thalyssan vault standing tall, a monument to a queen who reshaped her world and Japan's traditions, enduring like cherry blossoms that bloom through storms. Now let's weave these threads together, not to close the book but to open a door, to see how these stories, separated by oceans and centuries, speak to the same truth. That history isn't just a record of kings and battles, it's a mirror reflecting who we are, who we might become. In feudal Japan, we walked through a land of breathtaking beauty where temples curved like prayers, where gardens whispered of order, where every act from washing your face to swinging a katana was a performance for God's lords. And neighbors, the peasant, his hands blistered from the fields, carried the weight of survival. His life a quiet rebellion against hunger, against taxes, against a system that saw him as less than human. The cage, the shadows, toiled in exile, their work vital, their existence erased. Yet their cleanliness, their resilience was a silent defiance, a refusal to be forgotten. The samurai, bound by bushido, lived for their lord, Kensei, their swords gleaming, their hearts steady, their lives a poem of discipline that could end in blood. Their honor was a flame, warming their pride, burning their freedom, a flame that demanded perfection, from the fold of their robes to the precision of their bows. Aretia, across the sea, faced her own cage, a world where women were ornaments, not warriors, where empires expected obedience, not strategy. Her ships, polished like the samurai's blades, were her honor, her mind, sharper than any katana. Her code, not Bushido, but a fierce loyalty to Thalyssa, to her people, to herself. Her victory at Thalamos, ramming an allied ship to escape, was ruthless, a choice that haunts her. Yet it saved her fleet, her city, her legacy. Herodian's words, scratched on papyrus, immortalize her not as a flawless queen, but as a human one, flawed, fierce, unbroken, a woman who dared to rewrite her role. Japan's hierarchy, rigid as stone, shaped its people. From the peasants' toil to the samurai's sacrifice, their lives a testament to endurance, to finding beauty in a world that demands everything. Aretia's Thalyssa, vibrant yet precarious, shaped her. Her defiance of fire that burned through expectation, illuminating a path for her people. For her descendants, for us, both worlds, Japan's rice fields and Thalyssa's cliffs, are mirrors, reflecting the cost of living under scrutiny, the courage it takes to carve your own path. The samurai's seppuku, a ritual of blood and poetry, restores honor, Risha's battle. A dance of salt and strategy builds it, both acts a defiance of failure, a refusal to fade. The peasant's daily wash, the samurai's polished armor, Risha's gleaming ships. All are performances not for vanity, but for survival, for a place in a world that watches without mercy. Yet, in both worlds, there are cracks, moments where the human spirit slips through, a peasant lingering in the bathhouse, a samurai's daughter wielding her naginata with too much skill, Aretia ramming a ship to save her own. These cracks, small or bold, are where history lives, where people become more than their roles, where they weave their own threads into the tapestry. Japan's traditions endure, its calligraphy, its gardens, its rituals, a legacy of resilience. Of finding order in chaos, beauty in sacrifice, Risha's legacy endures. Her Thalyssan vault a monument to defiance, to a woman who turned a pawn into a power, who showed that leadership isn't about thrones but about choices, choices that echo through time. The samurai's honor, Risha's cunning, the peasant's toil, all speak to the same truth, that history is made by those who endure, who defy, who dare to be more than their world allows. In Japan, the cherry blossoms fall, a reminder that beauty is fleeting, yet the trees bloom again, year after year, a cycle of resilience that mirrors its people. In Thalyssa, the sea crashes against cliffs, relentless, yet the city stands. Its walls strengthened by Arisha's will, its people lifted by her fire. Both worlds teach us that survival isn't just about living, it's about shaping, about leaving a mark that outlives you, whether in a poem brushed on rice paper or a monument carved in marble. The cage, unseen but essential, remind us that even the invisible leave a legacy. They work the foundation of a society that shuns them. Aretia, seen by all, reminds us that visibility is a weapon, wielded with courage, with cunning, with a heart that refuses to bow. The samurai, their lives a balance of violence and poetry, show us that duty can be a cage, but also a canvas, a place to paint a life of meaning. Aretia, her life a balance of war and wisdom, shows us that defiance can be a legacy, a light that guides others long after you're gone. These stories, woven together, aren't just about the past, they're about us, about the choices we make, the cages we face, the marks we leave. Japan's peasants, samurai, cage, all carried their mirrors, reflecting their place, their duty, their resilience. Aretia carried hers not to reflect, but to shatter, to show her world and ours, that you can be more than your role, more than your reflection. Their stories ask us, what mirrors do we carry? What cages do we face? What marks will we leave? History isn't a distant tale. It's a living thread connecting us to the past, to the peasant's toil, the samurai's blade. Arisha's waves, it's a call to look at our own lives, to see where we bow, where we defy, where we endure. At History Orbit, we don't just unravel these threads. We invite you to weave them into your own story, to find the fire that burns in you, whether it's the samurai's honor, Risha's rebellion, or the peasant's quiet strength. These worlds, Japan's fields and Thalyssa's seas, are more than history, they're a challenge, a question, a spark, urging you to ask, what will your legacy be? What will your thread add to the tapestry? So, don't let this story end here. Come back to History Orbit, where every video is a journey, every tale a mirror, every moment a chance to discover the past, to ignite your own fire, to leave your own mark. Subscribe, join our orbit, and let's keep weaving, because the past isn't gone, it's waiting, calling you to step into its light, to find your place in the endless, beautiful, brutal tapestry of history.